Hello everyone, good evening. This is Soundarya here. Welcome to UPSC Warriors channel. Is the audio and video streaming fine? Hi Monica ma'am. Hi Arunabda sir. Welcome. Please drop a thumbs up in the comment section so that we can start the class today. Is the audio and video streaming fine? Can you hear me? Okay, fine. Thank you, Monica ma'am, for confirmation. Thank you. So, imagine a country which has the average annual income of just $50 per year. So, welcome to India in 1950. Okay, in 1950, the size of Indian economy was very smaller, even smaller than the South Korea's economy. But in 1990, India became one of the global player. So, how did that happen? How did India was able to transform itself from being a food importing country to a food surplus country? So we will see all these sections in detail today. So this is our second lecture of the NCERT series where we are going to deal with the unit 2 of the first chapter, that is Indian economy from 1950 to 1990. So this is going to be a very important session because this is something that is going to build a strong foundation of your understanding of the Indian economy, why we are what we are today, and what are the transformations happened, and what kind of policies we had so far. Why did we had planning commission in place? Why did India chose to adopt a planned economy model? And what is mean by mixed socialism? And why did India go for it? And what are the pros and cons of all these policy measures that we have taken? So without fail, please stay with me for the next 20-30 minutes, and I also insist you to please make a note of all these things in detail. Why? Because once we complete the NCERT series, I will take you through each and every topic that we are going to study under economy in detail, and for each and every topic that we have to do, these things are going to be your foundation. Okay, so good to go. Shall we start? Yeah, fine. Thank you, Sharmi. Thank you for confirming. Yeah. So now these are the things we discussed in the first unit, right? That is Indian economy on the eve of independence. So what was the condition of agriculture, industry, trade, infrastructure, etc. So let's do a quick recap of all these things. We learned that agriculture sector had problems related to low productivity. We had more than 85% of population dependent on agriculture. We had problems related to commercialization. We had problems related to lack of investments, etc. So these are the conditions that prevailed in agriculture. We had so many population dependent on it for the livelihood, but still the agriculture was not able to perform well and provide food for all the people. And the contribution of the agricultural sector to the GDP was quite high when compared with the other two sectors. Okay, so what was the conditions of industry? We had lack of diversification of industries. We did not have the important public sector enterprises running in place because the government was handling very few sectors, etc. And we did not have capital goods industry. We were importing capital goods from other countries. So these are the problems that existed with respect to the industrial sector. And what was the condition of trade? Can someone please comment in the comment section? Sharmi ma'am, I'm expecting answer from you. Sharmi ma'am, Monica ma'am, Arnav sir. So what was the condition of trade? We learned that more than half of our trade was restricted to only China, Britain, 50% to Britain, and the rest to China, Persia, and Ceylon, right? So, and then we gained trade, export surplus, but then that was again used for the office expenses of the British people. Fine. So, how about the infrastructure? We saw that we had railway lines, we had telegraphs, we had postal services, but then that was not meant for what? Development of the Indian economy, and again that for their personal interest only. And apart from that, we did not have any major investments made in the infrastructure condition of the Indian economy, so has to have the economic development. So these are the background with which we started our economic policies and reforms. Okay. So today we are going to discuss all these things in detail. So this is the index of your NCERT chapter. This portion is done, and now we are going to quickly go through to all these elements. Okay. So in this unit, we are going to study what are the goals of 5-year plans and what are the different development policies we had and what are the merits and demerits. These three things are going to play a very important role for you to understand the economy. Fine. So in 1947, we got independence, right? And India was like a small baby. We had to take care of it in such a way that we are not again going to get hurt after having 200 years of exploitation by the British. Now, the responsibility is on our shoulders so as to take care of the economy in all means and possible, so as to target each and every individual sector of the economy and address their problems, starting from agriculture, industry, services, foreign trade, everything, right? Okay, so how did we start? What did we do first? Okay, so once we got independence, it was our responsibility to build the nation, right? Okay, so we learned that India was like an infant. We have to now build that as a strong, independent nation. So how we are going to do that? By making some important choices and decisions. So what are the choices that we are talking all about now? Choices related to what type of economic systems I will be having. Choices related to how am I going to allocate the resources in the country so as to address the problems of all the sectors at individual level. So we had these two questions in place to answer to start with. Okay, so this is your first page. Okay, so in the introduction it talks about India choosing the economic system after independence so has to have the plans in place. So let me know what is mean by economic system. What is mean by economic system? Drop a message in the comment section. We have learned that in the basics of NCERT series also, right? So what is mean by economic system? Yeah, I'm getting answers. Sharmi ma'am has said import dependent. Okay, fine. So what is mean by economic system? See, economic system, economic system is a mechanism, okay, is a mechanism with which we optimally utilize the resources, okay. So which we optimally utilize the resources for producing goods and services. So what is economic system? Economic system is nothing but a mechanism by means of which we optimally utilize the resources, we optimally distribute the resources. Resources refers to land, resources refers to water, resources refers to soil, even the human capital. So whatever factors of production that we have, we are going to make use of that optimally so as to produce goods and services and distribute the same, right? So why do we have to basically do this? If we are not optimally utilizing the resources, that is going to lead to wastage of resources, and again that is going to end up in poverty. So we learned that India was having a huge amount of population living below the poverty line in 1947 itself, right? So in order to take care of this resource utilization and the poverty, we have to make use of it optimally. And how we can do that optimally? It is by making choices, right? What type of choices we have to make? We have to make choices like what to produce. So what to produce in the country, what type of goods and services I have to produce in my country, and how much to produce and for whom to produce. So these three are the important economic questions that has to be answered, right? So for whom we have to produce, for whom we have to produce. By making these three choices carefully, we can ensure that we are optimally utilizing the resources in such a way that we are able to meet the demands of all sections of the population, including the poor, right? Okay. So now, what is this economic system saying about making choices? Depending upon how we are going to make and who is going to make answer for these questions, we have three types of economic systems. Clear? So now I am going to teach you about the three types of economic systems we have and the economic system which India chose at that period of time. Okay. So depending upon who is going to decide these three questions of what to produce, how much to produce, and to whom to produce, we have three types of economic systems in place. Okay. That is socialism, communism, and capitalism. Clear? Socialism, communism, and capitalism. See, this word socialism is sometimes referred to as communism, and this word socialism is sometimes referred to as mixed economy or mixed socialist economy. So we will see the differences between all these three types of economic systems now. Is everything clear so far? Do you have any doubts so far? Is everything clear? Okay, fine. So now we are up to choosing the type of economic systems we want to have for India. Once India is born, now we have to decide who is going to make choices for the country, who is going to decide what to produce, how much to produce, and for whom to produce, right? Okay. So we can see three different types of economic systems existing at that time in place, starting from socialism, capitalism, and mixed economic model. So let me tell you what is mean by all these three things one by one. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for confirming. Okay, so starting from capitalism, see, remember those three questions, right? What to produce, how much to produce, and to whom to produce. In capitalism, we have these three questions to be answered by the market without interference of the government. So, what do I mean by here? Here, in the capitalist countries or in the countries which follow capitalist model of economic system, the three questions, the three important economic questions of what to produce, how much to produce, and to whom to produce will be decided by the market. So what is mean by market here? It is the place where demand and supply meets, right? So when we talk about demand, it is the consumer. When we talk about supply, it is the producer. So here the capitalist or the producers will decide what type of goods I have to produce in this country. So how they will decide? They will decide according to the demand. Okay. So what people can afford. If I am producing a car worth 20 lakh or 30 lakh, will I have people in the country buying that car? So if the answer is yes, then obviously I will choose to produce car only. Clear? So here the government is not telling me you have to produce medical equipments. You have to produce some vehicles for public transportation. Government is not telling me. I am deciding myself based on the demand, based on what people can afford to buy rather than what people need. Okay. So we are going to learn three important things about each of the economic system. And the first important point about capitalism is that there is no government intervention. Okay, so government will not intervene. Government will not say what you have to produce in the country or how much you have to produce in the country or for whom you have to produce in the country. So this is the first important feature of the capitalist countries. So who is going to make the decision? The decisions are going to be made by the capitalist or going to be made by the producers. Okay, so this is how capitalism works. We will come to that again. Now, what is this socialism? So here, this word socialism refers to the socialism type of economic systems we had in the Soviet Union. Okay, so it is more towards communism. It is not a mixed socialism. So please be very careful. When I say socialism, I mean it is the communist model or the socialist model of Soviet Union, that is Russia. Clear? Socialist model of Soviet Union, that is Russia. So what is this socialism all about? Under the socialist type of economic systems, the three questions of what to produce, how much to produce, and for whom to produce will be decided only by the government. Okay, so here the government will decide what to produce, how much to produce, and to whom to produce. And how the government will decide? The government will decide on the basis of what people needs in the country rather than what people can buy in that country. Okay, see, if there are 100 people in the country, if 20 to 30 people in the country are able to buy a car worth 50 lakh or 60 lakh, then in capitalism only 50 and 60 lakh worth of cars will be produced. Okay, but the rest of the population, say for example 50 to 60 people in the country who actually need medical services, who actually need some social supports, will not find any goods and services that they actually need. Why? Because there is no one to produce it. They don't find it profitable to produce a good worth of some 5,000 or 10,000 any scan equipment, any machines which they need for that matter. Okay, that is not profitable for them, so they won't do that. And government again is not intervening the market, so government again will not say the producers to produce what people need also. Okay, so in that case the people who are living in poverty are going to suffer so much, right? Okay, but in socialism the government is giving more importance to taking care of the social needs of the people. So the government will be deciding what type of goods and services to be produced. So the government is not allowing for what? Private ownership of resources. So the most important point that you have to note about the socialist pattern of economic system is that there is no private ownership. Okay, so the market has no power without the government. The producers cannot produce anything on their own. Everything is owned collectively. All the resources of the countries are owned collectively. So this is called as socialist model. And now the most important thing is the mixed economy model. Mixed economy model, or we can say that it is a mixed form of socialism. See, these two are the extreme versions of economic systems. Okay, so in these two forms we can find that the basic needs of the people are getting ignored in capitalism, and in the socialist pattern there is no private property, and the government is going to take care of the needs of the people at the holistic level, and the individual demands are not going to get considered, and most importantly there is no private ownership of resources. Everything will be owned by the government. But now what is this third one talking about? These two things are not successful, and after the failure of Soviet Union in 1990s, most of the countries moved from this model to this model that we are going to talk about. Okay, so in this mixed economy model, both the government as well as the market will play a key role. Okay, so government will decide what type of basic services that people need in my country, and the government will ensure that goods and services are getting produced, and the market forces, especially the capitalist or the private players, will decide what type of goods that they can produce so that people can afford to buy it. So it is taking the best features of both these types of economic systems we studied and then applying it. Okay, so what is the importance of having this type of economic system? Here there is no need for us to abolish this private property. Okay, because for a country like India, which do not have that much amount of investments, if we say we do not have this private property and we do not want the market forces to produce what they wanted to produce, then that is not going to be favorable for India, because we are a democratic country. So we give the right, that is the right to property, in the constitution itself. So we cannot say that there is no private ownership here. So that is why India was not able to, India was not favoring this type of socialism. India was favoring this model where the government is going to decide what to produce and take care of the basic needs of the people, and we will take some help from the private sectors also to grow the economy. I hope so far everything is clear. Before we proceed, can I get a thumbs up if the audio video streaming and everything is fine? If you have any doubts, please drop a message in the comment section. Is everything clear? Okay, fine. Now, so what is the other important thing that you have to know about? Apart from these three things, some examples of the country which follow this type of economic systems in place. So you can find USA, Canada, Japan, largely oriented towards this capitalism model, and we have countries in the east. Okay, especially you have China, especially you have Russia, Korea, all the countries lean so much towards the socialism. Fine. So now let's see what did happen in India. Okay, so India decided the economic system, that is India wanted to have a mixed economic system in place. And again I told you, why do we need mixed economic system? It is because we wanted to take care of the basic needs of the people. So two things are decided after independence. One is that India is going to follow a mixed economic model. So why we need to follow mixed economic model? It is because we want to overcome all types of disparities, inequalities, etc. that is existing in the country. And most importantly, we learned from the past experience that is especially the 1929 Great Depression, which thought that the demands can go down at any point of time. Because in capitalism, there is one assumption. Since the market forces are operating, that is, there is one invisible hand, okay, not that invisible hand you think about in the movie. So there is one invisible hand which will control the demand and supply whenever there is no equilibrium. So for example, if I have so much of demand for the automobile products, then I will obviously produce automobile products. But whenever the demand is getting less, I will probably try to produce some other type of goods which has demand. So by seeing the variation in the demand, I will decide what to produce and I will adjust the supply accordingly. Clear? So this is something called as a invisible hand operating in the market economy. So it always believes that In that type of economy, the demand and supply will automatically adjust according to each other. But that is not the case. So we learned about this 1929 Great Depression in the Basics of Economy series, right? So in that, we learned that this type of economy can be a failure whenever there is a fall in the demand, to such a level where we cannot immediately adjust the equilibrium. So this has taught us a lesson, and especially after the World War II, we had so many things to deal with, reconstructions, and all these, favored India to have state intervention. So if someone is asking you, why did we opt for mixed economy, you have to say that state intervention is very much needed, especially from the lessons we learned through World War reconstruction programs, 1929, etc. So this is the first point you will say. What are the other reasons that you can say for choosing the mixed economy? Because in 1950s and 60s, we found that the countries which adopted socialist model of economic systems were performing well. So these countries were called as command economies, okay? So in command economies, it simply means the government is going to take command. The government is going to have the upper hand and not the market. What are the examples we can say? We can say examples of Russia, we can say examples of China and the East European countries, right? So we felt that, okay, command economy is doing well. And what is the other important thing for which we chose mixed economy? It is because we wanted to have a planned economy in place. That is something which is not possible in the free market economy. So what is mean by planned economy? We are going to have plans in the country for the development and for addressing the challenges that we have. So whenever there is a government intervention, you can do that. Without government intervention, we can't do that, right? Oh. So for these three reasons only, we adopted mixed economy model. So after getting independence, we decided we have to choose mixed economy. And the second thing is, India wanted to go for a planned economy. Okay, so what is mean by planned economy? Here we are going to make plans for the country. Okay, so what is mean by plans? Okay, we will see that now. So why it is actually done? It is because we want to overcome inequalities, we want to overcome mass poverty that existed at that time. So our second area of discussion now is going to be about planning. Okay, right. So what is basically mean by plan? Plan is something which has, what is mean by plan? I'll take you through all the slides, don't worry. So what is a plan? What is plan? Plan is a process. Okay. So what do I mean by process? I mean to say that it is evolving. It is continuous. Okay. So we all know that we prepare so many plans for UPSC, right? So if I open my, notebooks of during my preparation days, I will only see plans. Plans. So at that time, I felt, oh my God, I'm good at only making plans but not executing it. And then why do I have to frequently change the plan? I used to get depression thinking, oh my God, I'm preparing multiple plans. But later, when I studied economics, I understood that that is how the plan should be. So planning is a process. It is not like you prepare one plan today for the entire next year and then you become the IAS officer. It is not like that. It is not going to happen like that. So it is the process by means of which you have to frequently, cross-check what are all the accomplishments you made, what are all the mistakes you made, and what are all the learnings that you have from your mistakes, and how you are going to correct the course of your preparation according to the needs and according to the dynamics. Okay, so that is how it works. So what is a plan? It is a process. Okay, and then it is evolving in nature. And then plan should have a very important element that is called as the goal. Without goal, we cannot have plan, right? And that goal has to be achieved in a specific time frame. So what is the definition of planning? Planning refers to having a well-defined goals or objectives to be achieved in the specific time period. Okay, so it is a process by means of which we optimally utilize the resources to achieve the goals, right? So India also wanted to have a plan for the country so as to address all the issues we saw in different sectors of the economy. Okay, and now we will see what did we do. Okay, so it is for the optimum utilization of resources. It should have specific goals and objectives. It should have prescribed time limit And most importantly, in India, we came up with 5-year plans. Okay. So we established Planning Commission, a separate entity entirely responsible for making plans in the country, and we also followed a 5-year plan model. I'm not going to discuss too much about the 5-year plans right now. Why? Because we will take up that later, and this session will be entirely dedicated to what type of plans and implications we had in agriculture and in the industrial sector, and that is going to help you understand the LPG reforms very clearly. Okay, I think everything is clear. If you have any doubts so far, please drop a message in the comment section. Is everything going good? Okay, thank you, Sharmi ma'am. Fine. Now, so this is your page discussing what is mean by plan. We learned what is mean by plan now. I told you that plans should have goals, right? And what were the goals of India's 5-year plans or the planning commissions? It's very simple. These 4 are the goals of the planning commission. Sometimes you may expect a question, that is MCQ, if UPSC has decided to give you a very easy MCQ. What are the objectives of the planning commission, or what are the objectives of 5-year plans in India? 1, 2, 3, 4. It is growth, modernization, self-reliance, and equity. So these 4 are the goals or the objectives of the 5-year plans, and that is discussed here. So what do we mean by growth? It is very simple, right? Increase in productive capacity, increase in gross domestic production, that is the production of overall goods and services, total goods and services in the economy. So that is talking about growth. Yes, we have to achieve growth. We have to increase the productive capacity of the country. And what is mean by modernization? So this was a problem, right, in industries as well as in the agriculture back in 1950s. Why? We did not have rapid use of machines in agriculture. We did not have modernized industries coming up in agriculture. Modern industries like iron and steel industries were very less. Capital goods industries were very less, etc. So we have to diversify that. So that is a goal. So we set up our goals according to the challenges we had. So these are the challenges we had, and we set up goals accordingly. And what is about self-reliance? See, India was not able to produce food for the own country, with more than 65 to 70% of people dependent on agriculture. That led India to import food from other countries, right? So now it is very important for us to become self-reliant, okay? Not only in agriculture, but also with respect to the industries where we were importing capital goods industries and some critical raw materials from other parts of the world, right? So this self-reliance is going to be a very important one. Why do we have to be self-reliant? If you are relying on someone else, that is going to affect your sovereignty. That happened for India also. So after the second 5-year plan period, after the first 5-year plan period, let me tell you a short story. So India did not have enough of food grains for feeding its population. So India had to import food grains from US under a program called as PL 480. Okay. So during this time period, we faced a lot of humiliation. Why? Because there was a story, that is telling that US supplied food grains or the feeder which they used to feed some animals there, right? So that is not good for the country, and it was at that time we felt the need for achieving food security and self-reliance in agriculture, and then we adopted green revolution. I'll come back to that again now. Okay, so this is about self-reliance, avoiding the imports. That is again going to cost your expenditure also when you are spending so much for imports. When you have the resources within your country, why do we have to import it and pay for it, right? We have to make use of it properly. And talking about equity, the benefits of economic prosperity should reach all sections of the population. So these are the important goals and the agreements that we had for creating plans in India. So next, moving on to this, measures we took in agriculture. So till here your goals are done. This is equity and this is self-reliance is done. Now we are going to deal with each and every section individually and see what are the major reforms we made in those sections. Okay, so starting from agriculture. Everything is clear? If you have any doubts till here, yeah. Thank you, Sharmi ma'am. Okay. So starting with agriculture. Now, as I already told you, we had problems with respect to food production. So what we did was, we came up with 2 important things after independence, that is land reforms and green revolution. See, during the first 5-year plan period, okay, that is 1951 to 1955, we gave so much of importance or focus to the agricultural sector only. Why? After independence, we know that all the sectors of the economy are equally affected. But why did we choose agriculture first as a primary focus in the first 5-year plan? See, I told you about the goals of 5-year plans right here. Okay, so these are the goals of 5-year plans, but then we do not had enough resources in hand to take care of all the goals together in each sections of the economy at the same time. We had resources enough either for giving more importance to agriculture at one time or to the industries at one time, and we did not have enough resources in hand to give equal investments, equal forces to, equal focus to all sections like agriculture, industries and services at one time. So we had to choose which section of the economy you have to work first. Okay, so because of large amount of population dependent on agriculture and lack of food production, we chose to give more importance to agriculture initially, and that is why in the first 5-year plan we focused so much on agriculture. Agriculture, in sense, we came up with different types of infrastructure creation in agriculture. Like we came up with multi-purpose river valley projects because we had canal irrigation already in place, right? So now we focused more about building hydroelectric power projects, and then bringing in more amount of government investments in supporting the farmers for overall cultivation, etc. And as a result of which, the agricultural growth after the first 5-year, at the end of first 5-year plan was good. Okay, so listen to this as a story. You don't have to take it down, just listen to this. But what happened after that? After the first 5-year plan, we went on to give more focus to the industries in the second 5-year plan period. Okay, so from the second 5-year plan period, we started to give more importance to the industrial sector. Why? Because we thought agriculture is now performing well. Let's focus on industries. But then that did not go well for the agriculture. Okay, why? We went for excessive modernization and rapid industrialization during the second 5-year plan period. So we did not have enough resources to take care of the agriculture. During the third 5-year plan period, India had multiple problems related to political stability, problems related to war. We had problems related to BOP. India had 2 wars during the time period, one with Pakistan and one with China. If anyone know the year, drop a message in the comment section. In 1962 and 1965, we fought 2 wars. So which war with which country, which year? Drop a message in the comment section. Okay, so because of all these unexpected expenses, because of all these unexpected scenarios, again we were not able to give more focus to agriculture, and it was at this time we felt that the agriculture sector is performing so badly. The growth has become very, very low, and we are not able to provide the basic food necessities to the people. So this was at this time period that we decided to go for green revolution. Okay, so we will come to land reforms once this green revolution is done, right? So we decided to go for green revolution. So what is green revolution? Again, a very interesting topic. Take a fresh page and write along with me. I think so far everything is clear. Okay, so what is green revolution? Green revolution refers to making use of modern inputs in agriculture to solve the agricultural problems. Okay, so what are the problems we had? We had problems with respect to productivity. We had problems with respect to infrastructure. We had problems with respect to production. Okay, fine. So how did we solve that with help of green revolution? One is modern inputs. So if I say modern inputs, what does that mean? Okay, it means using high yielding variety seeds, using fertilizers, using pesticides, okay, so using irrigation facilities, etc. So these are the modern inputs that we applied by means of green revolution in agriculture. So talking about high yield variety seeds, I am going to take 1 minute now for discussing green revolution. Okay, so what is high yielding variety seeds, how it is different from normal seeds? The name indicates high yielding, which means it is going to give more yield comparatively when you use other varieties. And how that is going to be possible? It is because in the high yielding variety seeds, the seeds have the ability to absorb more nitrogen when compared with the other seeds, and that is why it is going to produce more in the less span of time. And who invented such type of high yielding variety seeds? The person called as Norman Ernest Borlaug, right? And he was a US based researcher, and he also got the Nobel Prize, okay? And he invented the high yielding variety seeds for wheat, which again led to doubling of yield and wheat production in countries like Mexico, in countries like India, and even countries like Pakistan in mid 1965 to 70s. And how did he basically do that? How we can develop high yielding variety seeds? Simply by crossbreeding different varieties which have very good traits that is needed for producing higher yields. Okay, so let me give you one quick example of IR8. If anyone knows what is IR8, please drop a message in the comment section. What is IR8? What is IR8? Any idea? So it is the high yielding variety of rice. High yielding variety of rice. Okay. So developed by IRRAI. So in this, we made use of two traits. That is, we made a crossbreeding of two important traits, and one is from China and another one is from Philippines. Okay, that is called as Pita, and we have D, Geo, Wu, Jin. That is the the variety of China which we used for crossbreeding. Okay, so this is how we develop high yielding variety. See, okay, fine. Then don't you have a confusion here? Then how it is different from genetically modified? See, in genetical modifications, what we basically do, we basically edit the genes in such a way that we get the desired results, right? Okay, but that is not equal to crossbreeding. Crossbreeding is separate. You just make crossbreeds of two different varieties so as to get a desired output. But there is a relationship between both. See, all genetically modified crops are what? High yielding varieties, because the ultimate aim of such genetic modifications is to have high yielding varieties, right? But not all high yielding varieties are genetically modified. Okay, because we have some high yielding varieties developed by crossbreeding also. Okay, is everything clear? Okay, Sharmi ma'am, thank you. Fine. So this is about high yielding variety seeds, and whenever we use high yielding variety seeds, there is a need for us to take care of the fertilized pesticides also, and these varieties will also obviously need large amount of water. So by making use of all these things, we were able to produce good amount of production in food. Okay, see, this is something called as agriculture 3.0, and we are now in agri 4.0 time period, right, where we make use of internet of things, where we make use of artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc., to revolutionize what? Agriculture and productivity. So we will probably have a separate video on the important significance and measures that we take up in agriculture 4.0, etc. It is back in 1965, so we will restrict only till here. So this is the green revolution that we were talking about, and it is going to increase your productivity, it is going to increase your infrastructure facilities, and when productivity is increased, the production can also easily get increased. This is a very easy way to increase the production, right? Okay, so moving back to our NCERT. In India, we carried this green revolution in two phases. Okay, starting from 1960s onwards, we had from 1965 to 1980. Okay, from 1965 to 1980 as the first phase of green revolution, and 1980 to 1990 as the second phase of green revolution. Okay, so what did we do? We just imported the high yielding variety seeds from Mexico, and then we distributed it to the wheat growing regions, because in the first phase the high yielding variety seeds of wheat got introduced in India. We did not have the enough resources to introduce high yielding variety seeds of rice, high yielding variety seeds of maize, etc., in the first phase itself, that is in this time period itself. So what did we do? We just imported high yielding variety seeds of wheats and distributed it to the wheat growing regions. Talking about the wheat growing regions, we had, you know, in the northern regions, we had Haryana, Western UP and Punjab getting covered by these high yielding variety seeds to increase the wheat production. And talking about the southern regions, we gave this high yielding variety seeds to Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, etc. Okay. And what is the significance of this high yielding variety seeds? It is going to increase your productivity. Let me tell you a fact here. See, before introducing Green Revolution, what was the yield we had? It is very, very poor. 1 to 2 tons per hectare for wheat and 2 to 3 tons per hectare for rice. So this is the level of productivity we had before introducing Green Revolution. And what is the percentage of cultivated land we had with irrigation facilities? It is only 10 to 20 percentage. Okay, so we had only 10 to 20 percentage of cultivated land under irrigation, and we had crop losses, about 30 to 40 percentage because of lack of use of fertilizers and pesticides. So this was the condition we had before Green Revolution. So after Green Revolution, what happened was that this condition got changed. Okay, so from 1 to 2, we had somewhere 2 to 6 tons of 6 tons per hectares of wheat production. Okay, so we had somewhere 3 to 6 tons per hectares of rice yield. Okay, and then we had some 50 to 60 percentage of cultivated land under irrigation, and the overall production of food increased by 200 percentage, and India was able to achieve self-reliance in the food grain production. So in addition to producing what we need, we also were able to produce surplus, and that surplus were marketed, which means we started to export also. Okay, fine. And now moving back to Green Revolution. So what happened in 1960s to 1970s? We introduced the high yielding variety seeds. The government also gave subsidies for the farmers to purchase the high yielding variety seeds, subsidies for the farmers to have their irrigation systems, and subsidies were also given for fertilizers. Remember these three things very importantly, because we are going to deal about that in the implications later. Moving forward from here. So what happened is that the Green Revolution is not free from challenges. Why? Because the government did not have enough resources to introduce Green Revolution, that is high yielding variety seeds, across all the states in the country. Okay, so this was bound to have disparities between different states and also between a large farmer and a small farmer. We also had this high yielding variety seeds prone to pest attacks. So this is something discussed here. So how did the government deal with it? How did the government deal with it? The government started to give low interest rates to the farmers. Okay, so to get the desired inputs, and subsidies were given to fertilizers, as I told you, and pest attacks were tackled by the research institute. So just remember these are the measures, because in mains answer, while discussing about the challenges associated with Green Revolution, you can write these 3 points in place. Okay, and we also had the subsidies debate related to Green Revolution. See, during Green Revolution, we felt that the farmers did not have enough money, so we have to give them subsidy, okay, for purchasing any input or whatever they need for agriculture. But there were certain set of people who, actually went against this idea of continuing the subsidy for a longer time, because the Green Revolution period was successful, and once we achieved the desired results, it was felt that the subsidies are going to cause extra burden to the government, so the government should stop it. Okay, but then this is something which can hit the small farmers, because who still do not have enough resources or investments in hand. And second thing, this is going to go against the government also. Why? Because with subsidies, government were able to gain their vote banks, right? So this is the condition that made government to continue subsidy even after the Green Revolution period. So some people are saying that okay, subsidies has to be given only for a sufficient period of time, and when the desired results are achieved, we have to end with it. But then there are other people debating it, saying subsidies is something which cannot be stopped. Why? Because we have these conditions in place. Just to get to know about this, we will discuss more about subsidies when we are exclusively dealing with different types of subsidies and issues associated with it in your mains. Okay, is everything clear? Is everything going fine so far? If you have any doubts, please drop a message in the comment section. Fine. So this is about the debates over subsidies. Okay. We are reading NCERT's page by page, and this is the summary of what is written in this page for you to have a quick glance. Okay. So in the NCERT orientation video, I have insisted you to make notes like this. And now we are moving on to the results. As I told you, productivity increased manifold in the countries like Mexico, India and Pakistan. The wheat production almost doubled, the yield almost doubled, okay, because of having high yielding variety seeds. And then we achieved self-sufficiency, okay. But here, one thing you have to know, still we have 65% of population dependent on agriculture, okay. So why it is so? GDP by agriculture decreased. It means that we had other sectors of the economy contributing to the GDP like industries and services, etc. Thank you, Sharmi ma'am. All good. Okay. But although the GDP contribution by agriculture decreased, we still had huge amount of population dependent on agriculture. Why? Because the industries or the services which started to increase its contribution to GDP did not absorb enough of employment. Okay. So we still had 65% of the population, dependent upon agriculture. So why? What happened? We will have to discuss that under the industrial measures, the policy measures we had in the industrial sector. Okay, so this is done. But now, what about the land reforms? See, apart from Green Revolution, what is the other important thing that we had in place immediately after independence is the land reforms. See, what is mean by land reforms? Making some reforms with respect to the land, either the ownership of the land or how you are going to utilize that land. Fine. So, we learned that in the first lecture, we had the economic policies and the land revenue systems of British people exploiting the Indian farmers. How we had land revenue settlement systems like Zamindari system, Rayatwari system, which were literally exploiting and draining the farmers by charging higher rates, right? Okay. So what did the government do after independence? The government came up with a series of land reforms so as to address all the issues associated with it. Now we are going to see two important land reforms given in your NCERT. I'll just give passing reference to other reforms. Again, we will do this separately in detail. So talking about the reforms we had. Okay. So starting from abolition of Zamindari system or abolition of intermediaries. This is the very first reform we had, after independence. Abolition of Zamindari or intermediaries. So who are these Zamindaris? So these people are the intermediaries between whom? The farmers and the government, right? How? What did they do? They collected the revenue from the farmers and they submitted the revenue to the government. Before the government of India, they were giving the revenue to the British government. So how did they do this job? It is because the British people misinterpret that the Zamindars are the landowners in India, like how Zamindars were landowners in Britain. So what did they do? They gave the ownership rights to Zamindars and made them responsible for submitting their revenue on a fixed date, failing which what happened? The ownership rights were cancelled cancelled by the British people. So the Zamindars will not own their land anymore and it will be given to someone else who can submit the revenue on a fixed date. And what had happened? Farmers were paying huge amount of money as water rent. So they were the actual owners. We had collective ownership of agricultural land before the Zamindari system in place, right? Okay. So after independence, government saw this. This is something which is very exploitative. The rate of interest or the rate of tax that is actually collected is very high, and then the Zamindaris do not have any claim over the land, right? Okay. And because these Zamindaris were considered as pro-British during British rule, so now the government wants to take powers from the Zamindars. So they went for abolition of Zamindari systems, where the Zamindari system got abolished and farmers were made to submit the revenue directly to the government, and they also decreased the rate of revenue. So this is about abolition of Zamindari system. Since the Zamindars were considered as pro-British, it was implemented well across all states of the country, all states of the India comparatively took this reform seriously because of political will to remove that power from this person, that is Zamindari. Okay. In addition to the other reforms like land ceiling or consolidation or whatever we talk about, this was implemented quite well across all the states. So this is all about this is all you have to know about abolition of Zamindari system. Okay. And moving on, we will end up shortly, don't worry. So moving on, we had land ceiling. Why we had land ceiling? See, this abolition of Zamindari system did not support or help all the farmers. Why? It is because it is simply giving ownership rights to them. But still we had large amount of small farmers who do not have any ownership claims, but still they are working as a laborers in other fields. Still they are working, as a cultivator in other fields by means of rental, by means of lease or whatever type of agreements they had. They did not get enough benefits, right? So the government, after the abolition of Zamindari system, actually went for tenancy reforms. So this reforms is not discussed in your NCERT. I'll do that later in detail, but just I'll give you a passing reference. So what is tenancy reforms? Basically, this reforms aims to give security of tenure to the farmers who are not owners. Okay, so this is going to give them security. It is not like since we had a fight recently, you cannot cultivate in my land, you just go away. So if I am a big farmer, I have the chances of telling that to someone who is using my land for cultivation, right? So that person is going to be in trouble now. So what the government did is, no, you should not say you should not cultivate. We should have to give them a minimum period of security. Say for example, you have the rights to cultivate for 2 years, something of that type. Okay, so that is going to give them a security, and regulation of the rent or the wages that they have to pay for making use of the others fields for cultivation. So this is about tenancy reforms. Okay, because this abolition of Zamindari favored largely the occupancy tenants. Who are called as occupancy tenants? The one who had the ownership rights. Okay, and this is something which is going to benefit the subtenants. Who are subtenants? The one who do not have ownership rights, but then they used to cultivate in others farms or fields, right? Okay, and now this land ceiling, this is the another reform they had, and this is mainly aimed at minimizing the inequality. Okay, so this land ceiling came up so as to minimize the inequality that existed. So what inequality we are talking about here? We talk about inequality with respect to the wealth, inequality with respect to the amount of land that one person is holding at that period of time. So the government wants to fix an upper limit saying above which no one is allowed to own any land. So this is the important reform, but it did not work properly. Why? Because even the governments have no interest in that. Okay, so largely because of lack of political will, except in few states like Jammu and Kashmir, it did not do well across all the states, like almost all the states in the country. We had the land reforms performing well in countries like Kerala and West Bengal. Okay, so this is the another reform we had at that period of time, that is land ceiling, fixing an upper limit. Okay, fine. Is everything clear so far? Have you all understood the land reforms? Okay, thank you, Sharmi ma'am. Fine. Now, so these are the two reforms we had. This is talking about your zamindaris, and this is talking about the land ceiling. Now, moving forward, we saw what happened in agriculture, and here we say that the agriculture, although we were able to improve the production, still we were not able to improve the employment condition by making industries and services to absorb the population from agriculture. But why? It is because now we have to go and see the flashback of what happened in industries and trades. Okay, so we will end up the class here. We will continue from here in the next class, where I will be taking you through very important areas of what type of reforms and initiatives we had in this industrial sector and the trade sector, especially like how we discussed everything that happened in agriculture very detailed today. So I will be taking up this in the next class, where I will be discussing about the industrial policy reforms, the industrial policy of 1956, and how did the government had excessive control over industries and how that actually favored the industries, and also at the end led to BOP crisis in 1991. Okay, so this is going to be very important. So please do not miss this class and stay with me in the next class so that we will come to the overall conclusion of what are all the factors that contributed to the BOP crisis. See, we have these things to discuss. This is about the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956 and how the industries, lack diversity and what are the measures we came up with and why did we give so much importance to small scale industry, especially with respect to the IPR 1977. Okay, and what are the trade policies we have? Why did we went for import substitution policy? Why didn't we open up our economy at that period of time? And what made India to become an open economy after 1991? Okay, and what are the drawbacks of this? I'll tell you this only. Just listen. What do you think would be the teledensity we had in before 1990 in India? It is, find out what is the teledensity. Any idea? Any idea of teledensity we had before 1990? No, it is just 2 per thousand. So it is why? Because this is something also controlled by reserved by the government. See, hotel services and even this particular service of modern bread making firms, etc. were under the control of government. Privates were not allowed to operate on this field. Just imagine the condition where the government is protecting excessively by making all the sectors reserved for the government only. So we will see what are the causes and consequences of it in the next class. Okay, so most importantly, you heard about this term, I think, license raj, etc. So what is that license and why do we had it in place? How did it backfire? Everything. Okay, so I hope this session is okay for all of you. If you have any doubts, please drop a message in the comment section. We will end the class shortly and we will take it up from here in the next class. Okay, so this is going to take you to the next new chapter, that is LPG, chapter number 2, LPG reforms in your NCERTs. Okay, so once this lecture is done, we will also have a separate live session for solving the MCQs. So I will probably come up with some 20 to 25 MCQs where you have to solve the answers dealing with unit 1 and unit 2. Okay, so once it is done, we will do that also. Okay, thank you. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed to UPSC Warriors channel, please subscribe. We'll meet you all in the next class. Bye bye.